Why some improvement initiatives are successful and some do not deliver expected results? Well, I can talk about this a lot, and I have also addressed that in many earlier videos. But here are some examples. Again, we focus more on technology than people. We think that the technology will just take care of it, but it's still about people executing maintenance in a well-defined process. Biggest obstacles to overcome: mobility of top management. Well, in our service, we have seen that most maintenance organizations or plant organizations have had over 3 plant managers in the last 10 years. They have had more than 3 production managers in 10 years, and they had more than 3 maintenance managers in the last 10 years. If they all come in with a different initiative, they're going to change something, well, then you confuse the organization. It's constancy of purpose, as Deming said. You need to stick to the principles and the best practices that you have actually defined. So the ownership of the improved processes and execution of these must be with the frontline organization. And that is the planners, that is the supervisors, that is the craftspeople, that's the operators, that's the reliability engineer, and that's really the frontline of maintenance. Too often we are forced to focus on short-term profits. We like to see, we do this now and I want to see payback next quarter. When it comes to reliability and maintenance management improvement processes and so forth, we need to think beyond the next quarter. You need to think 3 to 5 years. You will get results along the timeline there, but you will get the real results after 3 to 5 years. That's typical what I have seen. And as I said before, there is a lack of long-term constancy of purpose. We keep on changing programs. We keep on changing initiatives. We load the organization with more and more initiatives, and it confuses the organization. We don't finish what we started before there's a new initiative coming. Focusing on costs and budget limitations instead of actions that drive cost. If you're a good leader, yeah, the budget and is important, but if you're going to get results, you need to focus on the things that will actually drive these results. And what are those? Well, that is simple. Execute the right PM tasks. See to that you plan, schedule, and execute maintenance before you have a breakdown. Have a good bill of material and set it up so that we have access to what parts we need. We can optimize our spare parts, etc., etc. Those are the things that if you execute them, they will drive down the cost. It will not just cut the budget and then you will take the results later. When it comes to reducing costs, you can say there are 3 ways of doing it. You can cut the cost. What that means is that you defer maintenance. What that leads to is that you most probably have to spend much more later, because a valid maintenance job can never be just eliminated or deferred. Sooner or later you have to do it, and it will most probably cost more the later you do it. And then you reduce the need for maintenance. And what that comes down to is, of course, to number 1, have the right equipment, but also you do maintenance prevention. And still, of the most important things you do there is lubrication, precision maintenance, including precision alignment, operating practices right, many other things that you can hear in my earlier videos. And then you efficiently execute remaining maintenance and again inspect, prioritize, plan, schedule, do, analyze, and improve. And that is then your work management system that will drive that. Here are some examples. We can see that our what we call current best practice score is based on between 80 and about 200 right things to do. For example, is it the right thing to do to plan work before you schedule work? And many other statements like this. and it's based on the right things to do. Because number one, it's much easier to get people to agree on the right things to do than on how we're gonna do it. So first you decide these are the right things to do, and then you look into how well are we doing them and how can we do them better, and that creates that score. And here's one example from Fonterra, which is a company down in New Zealand with 4 million cows. We could see that in these 22 plants, the IDCON score, as that increased, the number of breakdowns went down and the availability they were measuring went up. And the result was actually that after this was completed and many had implemented those practices, well, it increased production throughput with 2%. And it's the same here. They also increased production throughput by 2%. This is PetStar, the biggest food-grade pet recycling plant in the world in Toluca in Mexico. It's a very good example. They started with a quite high CBP score of about 53. And in about 3 years, they actually reached world-class level, and they reached a score of 78, which is the best I have worked with. I've worked with a lot of other good companies, but this was absolutely excellent. So remember, you need to see to, as a leader, your long-term, engaged, visible and caring, consistent leadership, focusing on what drives results, not only costs. The costs will come, they will go down later, but not immediately. The right people, not only people, but the right people working in well-defined processes. Train and coach the frontline organization. If you're going to be successful, that's where you have to spend the time. Not only in a room, in a conference room where you draw up all these processes and everybody says, oh, that's great, we're gonna do this now, and nothing happens. No, most of the time must be that you go out as a facilitator and you go sit there as a coach with the planners, with the supervisors and the frontline organization, and you need to spend at least 3 weeks in each area to actually make a sustainable improvement. So that's something you have to do as a leader internally, or if you use a consultant, you need to see to that consultant is capable of going beyond the conference room, drawing up conferences and doing PowerPoint presentations. And then you need to do regular assessments to sustain and improve performance. If you do not do regular assessments, you will not sustain your improvements. Thank you so much for listening.